I work nights at McDonald's far outside the city. Barely anyone comes after midnight. It's just me and the security guard, Leonard. He's old, quiet, and mostly scrolls on his phone. The lights buzz all night, the smell of oil sticks to everything, and time moves slow. There's a small playground next to the dining area. It's supposed to be for kids, but at night it looks wrong. Too bright, too empty. I clean the floors while Leonard checks the cameras. One night I saw something on the monitor. Something small moved across the playground. It was fast, low to the ground, like a kid crawling but too quick. I thought it was a glitch. I rewound the footage, and it was still there. I told Leonard. He just laughed and said I'd been awake too long. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I walked near that playground, it felt like someone was watching from inside. A few days later, Leonard told me there used to be a rumor about this McDonald's. Years ago, a baby died here. Got stuck in one of the tubes in the playground. They said the parents were eating when it happened. The staff found the body hours later. The place closed for a while, then reopened, and nobody talked about it again. He said it was probably fake, just a story to scare workers. But I looked it up. There really was a report about a baby dying at a McDonald's in this area. No one was charged. That night, I put my phone up by the register and started recording. Around 3 in the morning, something ran through the playground again. I saw it on my phone later. A small shape moving weirdly like it didn't have bones. The arms were long, the head big. I showed Leonard the video the next night. He got quiet and said not to show anyone. He said people had been fired for spreading things like that. He went outside for a smoke and stayed there for almost an hour. When I was alone, I heard something laugh. It sounded like a kid. A short laugh, quick, like a sound clip on repeat. I froze with the mop in hand. It came again, this time from the ball pit. I turned off the music in the kitchen. The laugh kept going. I went to the playground and looked around. Everything was still. Then I heard plastic moving inside the tubes, like someone crawling. I got my phone and aimed it at the tunnels. The lights above started flickering one by one, moving across the ceiling like something was crawling under them. I saw a hand pressed against the tunnel window, small but stretched. The fingers too thin. The whisper was soft, like a kid trying to get attention. I thought about that story Leonard told me, the dead baby. I told myself maybe it was stuck there. Maybe it needed something. The next night I brought a toy. A small plastic dinosaur from a Happy Meal. I waited until Leonard went outside again, then I walked to the playground and left the toy at the slide. I turned to leave, but the laughter came back, louder. It sounded like it was right above me. I looked up. The plastic tunnel was shaking slightly, like something was crawling fast through it. I called out, asking who was there. The sound stopped. Then I heard it again, not laughing now, but breathing, slow and wet. I don't know why I went in. I just wanted to see it. The ball pit was cold, like the air conditioner was blowing from underneath. I crawled inside with my phone's flashlight on. A small voice came from the tunnel ahead. It sounded like a baby crying, but not real, like someone imitating it. Wrong rhythm, wrong tone. I moved closer. The light caught something deep inside the tunnel. It wasn't a baby. It was long, thin, and black. The skin looked stretched, almost wet. Its head scraped the top of the tunnel, and its arms bent backward as it tried to move. It opened its mouth and made that same fake baby sound again, louder this time, echoing through the plastic. I dropped my phone. The thing started pulling itself toward me fast. I kicked backward, but the balls shifted under me, no traction. I fell, hitting the tunnel entrance. My leg had caught, and something grabbed my ankle. The grip was freezing. I screamed for Leonard. The thing pulled harder, dragging me toward the tunnel. I hit the side of the pit, tried to grab something, anything. I felt the ground vibrate as it got closer. Then another hand grabbed my wrist. Leonard's. He pulled hard and the grip on my ankle slipped. I fell backward onto the floor, gasping. For a second, the light from my phone hit the tunnel again. The thing was still there, halfway inside, its head turned toward us. The face didn't look human, just a hole where the mouth should be, shaking, making that baby sound over and over. Then it pulled itself back and vanished. Leonard dragged me out of there. We didn't talk. The lights above flickered again, then all of them went out. The playground went black. We ran through the kitchen and out the back door. The second the door shut, the noise stopped. We sat on the curb outside, both shaking. Neither of us went back in. When the morning crew arrived, we just said there was an electrical issue. I quit that day. Leonard stayed. He said he needed the job. I told him to at least close off the playground at night. He said he would. I still talk to Leonard sometimes. He says the nights are quiet most of the time, but every now and then he hears that baby again. Says it comes from the playground, same as before, like it's still trapped in there. But when he really listens, he says it doesn't sound like a baby anymore. The crying is slower, the tone is off. He told me it sounds like someone trying to copy a baby. Like whatever's in there learned the sound, but doesn't know what it means.
This story is based on the real case of Rosendo Jesus Montoya, a 28-year-old man sentenced to life in prison in July 2024 in Texas. Montoya had worked with one of the victims, Mary Hines, at a McDonald's in Lubbock and became dangerously obsessed with her after she left the job. One night he returned to the restaurant where Mary was closing the shift with her coworkers and attacked her along with her roommate Laura West. He later set the scene on fire, trying to destroy everything inside. This story is also based on the testimony of a third coworker, the only survivor of that night, who witnessed the attack and was rescued by firefighters after the restaurant was set ablaze. Her account became crucial in Montoya's conviction, and her experience inspired the version told here, recounting the events from her point of view. I used to work the closing shift at a McDonald's in Lubbock, Texas. Same fluorescent lights, same greasy smell, same group of tired faces clocking out past midnight. Mary was the funny one, always singing while cleaning the machines. Laura, her roommate, would pick her up every night. I didn't talk much. I just wanted to finish my shift and get home. But that night, something felt off from the start. Not supernatural, just human. The kind of unease you can't put into words because you know it's someone's fault. Rosendo had worked with us months before. Always too quiet, too intense. He'd stare at Mary longer than anyone should. When she quit, he didn't take it well. A few of us saw him waiting outside the store once, parked in his old silver Chevy, smoking and watching the windows. The manager told him to leave. He didn't say anything, just looked at Mary through the glass before driving off. After that, things calmed down. Mary joked about it, said he was just weird, but I could tell she didn't believe her own words. She changed her number and started parking in the back lot. It felt like overkill at the time. Looking back now, she was right to be scared. The night everything happened was July 17, 2024. The same week the heat had broken records in Texas. The air conditioner inside the restaurant barely worked, so the whole place smelled like sweat and burnt oil. We were closing up, just me, Mary, and Laura waiting in her car outside. It was almost 1 a.m. when I noticed the headlights coming from across the lot. The car parked with the lights off. I couldn't see much through the front windows, but I recognized the shape of that Chevy right away. I froze for a second, staring at it through the drive-through window. My throat felt dry. Mary was wiping the counter, humming to herself, completely unaware. I wanted to tell her, but I hesitated. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was just some drunk parking wrong. I kept cleaning, pretending I didn't notice, but I kept glancing toward that dark car. It didn't move, not an inch. Mary finally locked up the register and turned to me. "You good?" "Yeah, just tired." She laughed and grabbed her bag. I walked behind her as she turned off the lights. Everything went black except the glow from the Friar's timer. She unlocked the back door and pushed it open. I could feel the heat from outside hitting my face like an oven. That's when I saw movement behind the dumpster. Just a quick shape ducking low. Mary didn't notice. She stepped outside first, pulling the door closed behind her. I stayed by the frame, trying to look without making noise. A metallic sound echoed, something like a car door slamming shut. My stomach tightened. She waved at Laura's car, which was parked near the exit. I watched her take a few steps toward it, still humming, and then I heard it. Footsteps running. Mary screamed once, just once. It didn't even sound human. It was more like a gasp that got cut short. I ran outside and saw him, Rosendo, tackling her to the ground. He had something in his hand, maybe a knife. I couldn't see clearly, but the way he moved, the way she thrashed under him, there was no doubt. I froze for a second. My mind tried to make sense of it, but nothing did. Then I ran toward them, yelling her name. Rosendo turned his head toward me. His eyes looked empty. Not angry, not wild, just blank. That's what scared me the most. He stood up halfway and came at me fast. I ran back inside and slammed the door, locking it. He hit it so hard it rattled the hinges. I backed away, grabbing the phone from the counter. No signal. McDonald's Wi-Fi was off after closing, and the building was a dead zone. Through the small glass window in the door, I saw Laura get out of her car. She didn't see what was happening right away. She started shouting, calling for Mary. Then Rosendo turned and went for her. She tried to run, but he caught her near the car, dragging her by the hair. She kicked and fought, but he didn't stop. I wanted to help, but I couldn't even breathe. I just stood there, gripping the useless phone, shaking. I heard the knife hit something. Maybe bone, maybe metal. She fell. He didn't look back at me. He just crouched over her, stabbing again and again. After a few minutes of silence, I thought he was gone. I didn't dare move. My whole body felt like it was about to collapse. Then I heard something dripping. Gasoline. The smell hit me before I saw it. I peeked through the window and saw him holding a red container, splashing it on the ground, over the cars, the door, everywhere. He didn't rush. He moved slow, almost calm. When he finished, he stood there for a moment, looking at Mary's body. Then he turned his head toward the restaurant, toward me. He walked up toward the window and looked straight in. I don't even know if he saw me, but I ducked under the counter, pressing my mouth shut. My lungs burned from holding my breath. I heard him tap the glass with something, maybe a knife, and then footsteps moving away. Seconds later, a bright orange light flickered through the cracks of the door. Then came the sound of fire catching plastic and grease. The heat rose fast. The air got thick and hard to breathe. I crawled toward the back hallway, trying to stay low. The smoke was everywhere, burning my eyes. I tried the emergency exit. It didn't budge. It was locked from the outside, probably rusted shut from years of disuse. I hit it again and again with a broom handle, but it wouldn't open. I was trapped. The ceiling started cracking. Black smoke filled every corner. The fire alarms went off, shrieking. I ran to the walk-in freezer, the only place that might keep me alive. My fingers slipped on the metal handle, but I forced it open and jumped inside. The air inside the freezer was biting cold, but the smoke still crawled in through the small gaps around the door. I pressed my jacket against the cracks to block it. My body shook uncontrollably, partly from the cold, partly from the panic. I could hear the fire roaring outside, popping grease and collapsing tiles. Somewhere, glass shattered. The sound echoed through the vents like screams. I curled up near the frozen boxes, trying not to think, but all I could picture was Mary's face, the way she looked at me right before stepping out that door. Then a noise. Footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps just outside the freezer door. I froze. It stopped right there. A faint creak of metal. I didn't see anything, but I could hear the sound of something scraping against the door. He was still there. I held my breath, counting seconds. The scraping stopped. Silence. Then a single soft knock on the metal, like he was testing if I'd respond. I didn't move. After that, nothing. Just the distant roar of the flames eating through everything. The heat outside got worse. The doors started to feel warm. My lungs hurt from the thin air. I thought maybe this was it, that I'd die frozen and burned at the same time. But then faintly through all the chaos, I heard sirens. I barely remember what happened next. The door burst open, blinding white lights cutting through the dark. Hands grabbed me, pulling me out. My legs wouldn't work, and the smoke made it impossible to speak. I remember one of the firefighters shouting something about survivors. They dragged me through what was left of the kitchen. Melted plastic, black walls, collapsed beams. I looked around, but the bodies were gone. Later, they told me they found them near the parking lot, burned beyond recognition. I kept asking if they'd caught him, but nobody answered. The fire was still raging, and they were too busy trying to control it. I spent the next few days in the hospital, my throat raw from the smoke. A week later, I saw his face on the news. They caught him 2 towns over. He didn't resist arrest. No explanation or apology. He just sat there while the judge read the charges. Double homicide, arson, attempted murder. Life sentence. It's been months now, but I still wake up at night smelling smoke. The sound of footsteps outside my door makes me sit up straight. The doctors say it's trauma, that my brain is stuck in survival mode. But sometimes I think about how calm he was, how he looked through that window before setting everything on fire. I moved out of Lubbock after the trial. I don't talk to anyone from that store anymore. The building's gone, just a patch of concrete and weeds now. People drive by and don't even know that 2 women died there. Sometimes when I pass a fast food place at night, I catch myself looking for a silver Chevy parked nearby. It's stupid, I know. He's locked away for life. But I'll never forget that knock on the freezer door. The one that told me he knew I was still alive.
We left the restaurant around midnight. The street was empty, the kind of silence that makes you whisper without knowing why. The fries still clung to our hands, the smell of grease and cold air mixing into something disgusting. There were 4 of us, me, Olivia, Grace, and Hannah. We'd eaten too much and wanted to walk it off before heading home. When we stepped outside, I saw him across the street, a man in a full Ronald McDonald outfit. Red and yellow jumpsuit, big shoes, face paint half washed off. He was standing perfectly still, staring at us like we were part of a show he didn't want to end. Olivia laughed and waved at him like an idiot, but he didn't move. He just tilted his head slow and steady. There was something wrong about how still he was. He wasn't breathing hard, wasn't shivering, wasn't doing anything, just staring. We started walking, pretending to ignore him. The sound of our shoes echoed through the empty block. I didn't want to look back. I did anyway. He was gone. We crossed 2 more streets before I saw him again. This time he was on our side of the road, standing under a streetlight that flickered every few seconds. His makeup looked smeared, like he'd been wearing it for days. His red grin was cracked and uneven. Grace told us not to look at him. Olivia said we should just keep walking. But Hannah slowed down, whispering that maybe he was some drunk performer coming from a party. Nobody believed that. The sound of those clown shoes hitting the concrete followed us. 1 step, pause, 2 more steps. He wasn't close, but he wanted us to know he was there. Every time we turned a corner, he appeared again, sometimes behind a car, sometimes by a tree, always watching. When we reached an intersection, he stood right in the middle of the road. His arms were at his sides, head still tilted. We waited, not sure if we should cross. Then he started walking toward us. Not running, just a slow, steady pace, like he had nowhere else to be. We ran. The street stretched forever. I could hear the squeak of his shoes getting faster behind us. We cut through a parking lot, breathing hard, laughing nervously, like maybe this was still some joke. It wasn't. When we reached the end of the lot, Olivia turned around. He was standing at the entrance, one hand behind his back, the other holding a red balloon. No movement, just that same tilt of the head. We didn't say anything, we just kept moving. Every few blocks he reappeared. Once he was sitting on a bench, hands on his knees, staring at the ground. Another time we saw him crouched behind a trash bin, peeking out. The silence was worse than any sound. The tension built with every step. My heart wouldn't slow down. The air felt colder now, sharper. Streetlights buzzed above us, one after another, dying as we passed under them. When I finally looked back, he was closer. Too close. He lifted his hand and waved, that slow, broken wave again. Then he took out something small from his pocket, his McDonald's name tag. He pressed it against his chest, smiling wide. Hannah screamed when she saw him start running. That sound didn't belong to anything human. His steps were uneven, too heavy for how fast he moved. We split without thinking. Grace and Olivia ran left, me and Hannah went right. We sprinted through a narrow alley filled with trash bags and broken glass. I could hear his shoes scrape against the walls as he followed. Hannah slipped. I tried to pull her up, but the clown was already there, blocking the way out. He didn't move toward us right away. He just crouched down, watching us like he was studying what scared us the most. When he finally moved, it was sudden. One hand gripping Hannah's hair, the other pulling something shiny from his belt. A small blade, not even a real knife, just a piece of metal sharpened to a point. I froze. Then I threw a bottle at him. It hit his shoulder and he turned toward me, tilting his head again. The smile was wider now, stretched into the cracked paint. Hannah crawled back, but he grabbed her ankle and dragged her toward him. She kicked, screamed, fought. He didn't make a sound. He just looked at her face while pressing the blade against her neck, like he wanted to see the exact moment she realized it was over. I ran. I don't even remember deciding to. I just ran. My legs felt like they were on fire. When I reached the street again, Grace was there, crying and shaking. Olivia wasn't with her. We hid behind a parked car. Grace whispered that Olivia ran ahead and didn't look back. Then she stopped mid-sentence, staring past me. I turned around. He was standing across the street holding something. It was Hannah's phone. The screen was cracked, glowing faintly in the dark. He lifted it to his painted mouth and licked the blood off the glass. Then he dropped it. He started walking again, slow, dragging his shoes along the pavement. Grace whispered for me to run. I couldn't move. He picked up a piece of broken glass from the road and pressed it against his own arm, cutting through the paint, then smiled when he saw us watching. Grace bolted. I followed, but she tripped on the curb and went down hard. I turned to help her up, but the clown was already there, standing over her. He didn't stab, didn't hit. He just lifted her by the hair and smashed her head into the side of a car. Once. Twice. Then he stood still again, watching her body slide down. He looked at me, that painted grin, those empty eyes. I ran. I reached an old gas station at the end of the block. It was closed, lights flickering weakly inside. I hid behind a vending machine near the wall, trying to stay silent, trying not to breathe too loud. The clown walked past the window, dragging something along the ground. A shoe. Grace's. He stopped right in front of the glass and turned his head slowly toward where I was hiding. He pressed his hand against the glass. His fingers were smeared with red and white. Then he walked away. I waited. Seconds. Minutes. I couldn't tell. When I thought he was gone, I stepped out, trembling, ready to run again. That's when I saw the reflection in the vending machine. He was right behind me. He raised the blade, and I swung blindly with a loose metal pipe I'd found on the ground. It hit his face, knocking off part of the wig. He staggered, but didn't fall. I swung again, hitting him in the jaw this time. The sound of cracking pain and bone mixed together. He fell, his body twitching once before going still. I didn't wait. I ran into the street until I saw the flashing lights of a patrol car coming down the road. They never found the clown's body. The police said there was too much blood at the scene, that he couldn't have gone far, but they never found him. Hannah and Grace didn't make it. Olivia disappeared completely. I moved away a week later, but sometimes when I walk home at night, I hear it. The faint squeak of shoes somewhere behind me. Not close, but just enough to make me turn around. I don't. I actually never see anything. But I'm scared that someday I will.